Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Catholic Dad Show. My name is Chris Bartlett.
And I'm Matt Rice, and we're just a couple of Catholic dads trying to do the best we can and share whatever wisdom we have. We've also brought in a good friend of ours, JP. I've known JP since had you even started puberty when I met you?
I was 15, 14, somewhere in that range.
I mean, the photo that I sent you the other day was pretty early in the stage.
I had hair. And for those watching on the video, I do not now.
Oh, man. The ones watching on the video can see that you don't. It's the ones listening on the podcast that, you know.
You can hear the shine when I squeak on my head.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Good. Well, hey, right. JP's also a friend of mine. I feel left out of that conversation, but I don't know. I actually am godparent to one of his children.
Hey, don't bring it up. It's a sore subject.
I know. It's harsh. So I was up in Dallas for some speaking and got to hang out with JP, and we are going to dive in with him today. Let's dive in. What is our topic today? What are we unpacking?
JP, do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the topics that I've found interesting as a semi-new parent, I have a 3-year-old boy, William, and a 1-year-old girl, Evie. And one of the things I've found interesting as a new parent is kind of that idea of going into parenthood with really good ideas of we're going to be the best parents ever. We're going to do all these things right, whatever right means, which is a whole nother topic probably. But and then life happens, and you kind of have to learn that it's okay to, I don't want to say cut corners, but do things differently than how you maybe intended to do them because you just learn the hard lessons of life.
Yeah, the truth of it is, like, before you have kids, you have all these, like, I don't know, fantastical ideas about, like, how you're going to be a parent and how you're going to do it differently than your parents did or different than your friends are doing, and you're going to do it perfectly. And some of the ideas that we have before we start having kids are just stupid. And having like 18 years of parenting, you know, and if you actually like dissect, like count the years of each kid, it's a ridiculous amount of parenting years that I have. It's kind of fun and sort of like a game, you know, just to sit back in a lawn chair and watch a new young couple as they have their first kid and all their ideas of what they're going to do. And like, hey, Wes, watch this. they're going to try this. Watch. And then it just
they're going to go wash off the pacifier.
That was the example I was going to bring up.
Those fools. Yeah. And then the second kid, they're wiping off on their jeans. And then the third kid, they're just like, I don't even think that's our pacifier.
Yeah. Did that just come out of the dog's mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting though, because what I have seen also is people that have like just 1 or 2 kids are able to actually keep up some of the things that I would consider unhealthy. But those that have a larger family can't do that. And so there's also like the size of your family impacts of what you're like how much of that you're able to actually hold on to. But there's still things that you walk into parenthood with that you just abandon.
Right.
Who wants to go first? Who's going first?
Well, I'm gonna dive in there because first of all, I want to say that there are certain things that I think that we're talking about that aren't unhealthy, but they're maybe too aspirational to actually be executed effectively. So an example of that is I love.
Sorry, something just weird just happened with the audio. It's like I don't know if PJ or JP, you moving that away messed something up, but I heard a severe echo when that happened.
We are creating, for the listeners, we are creating a havoc for our
audio engineer,
our producer. Audio engineer.
I'm just trying to create 3D spatial audio.
We've got to figure out a better way to work it with 2 people in the same room next time because I love being here with you, but our Taylor hates us right now, and I'm so sorry, Taylor.
I'm not sorry.
So does this help? I don't know. Anyways, but like when I started, I was like, I'm going to tell my kid a story. I'm going to read my kid a story, and I'm going to sing my kid a song. And now that I have 6 kids, like that is not possible. I'm like, you get a story or you get a song, or that show that we just were watching until 8 p.m. past your bedtime, that counts as your story and your song. Like, don't brush your teeth tonight. It's already too late. Like, just leave me alone. There's so much stuff in the kitchen to take care of. You just need to leave. And so bedtime routine, I think, is a great example of like, I wanted it to be this nice little cadence. But then when I realized, especially when you have a newborn at home, you can spend up to 4 hours a day putting people to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's crazy.
No, I had the same situation. And luckily now, you know, we've been able to hold on to the bedtime routine. At least we do, where we have, you know, we go upstairs, we read a story together, we sing a song, we say our prayers, we go potty, we brush our teeth, and then bed. And we've been able to stick to that. But at the same time, I think it is fruitful to say that you can be flexible with that, right? Like when you're in that situation where the 8 p.m. bedtime is already come and gone or whatever. I mean, ours is 7 p.m. because I like my night times. But, you know, to say that that's kind of gone past, okay, we're just going to do a quick story, or, you know, let's just do prayers tonight. It's okay to kind of break those sometimes, but to still hold on to the things that you think are aspirational and not necessarily unhealthy parenting things, I think is an okay thing to go pursue, right?
Sure. Yeah, and I didn't necessarily mean to say that all the stuff we're going to bring up today are unhealthy or anything like that.
No, yeah, there certainly are.
But yeah, y'all were talking about bedtime.
Trigger warning. That was me. Sorry.
Y'all were talking about bedtime, man. Like, and it's interesting because my kids want, you know, mom to put them to bed every night, and that is her least favorite part of the day because they don't listen to her. And so same. Like, it's so frustrating to her, and like that they only want her, but they don't listen to her. They don't respect her, you know, and so that's her least favorite part of the night, you know, whatever. But that's not what we're talking about today. One of the things that, you know, we walked into, like, in this, maybe this is a precursor to everything, or maybe it just kind of goes throughout the whole episode, is that every kid's different. And so if you walk into parenthood thinking that you're going to do X, Y, and Z with this kid, you have not met that kid yet. You have no idea what that kid's about, you know, and what's going to be good for them and bad for them. So it's like, it's not a good idea, I don't think, you know, to think that you're going to parent in this way for all of your kids, because it's going to be different. Every kid is going to be different. So we've got 6 kids. I mentioned that multiple times on this show, but our first kid, Levi, very like strong-willed, and when we started out, we were like, we're never going to spank our children, you know, we're only going to do timeouts. We had researched all this, you know, stuff about timeouts and had this little clock timer thing or whatever. Did not make a freaking difference at all in his behavior. Like, he would sit in timeout for hours. He's an introvert now. I see that was like just rewarding him with quiet time, you know, but it did not, you know, fit with his personality at all. And so we had to bring in corporal punishment for him, because that actually worked. Now, with my oldest daughter, Trinity, she's an extrovert. Timeouts work. And actually, like, even like, I won't say harsh words, but just like using like language to communicate actually works well with her. I spanked her a couple times, and I could tell that it hit deeper than I wanted it to. You know, it not wounded, but it was like on that, like I could tell that it just was not the right way
for her,
you know,
it crossed the line
to parent her. Yes, exactly. You know, and so it's interesting to see how that works, because it's like, I'm going to be a parent that never spanks, and then I have a kid that needs a spanking, you know, like, you know, so.
Oh, and I think that, you know, we've kind of gone through similar things and actually learned a really cool tip from this community through Ablaze, that this is all tied to, in that, I think it was Jennifer.
What is the name of that community?
It was The Village. I think I saw a post there where Jennifer was talking about how, you know, you can kind of trust your kids to understand the situation well enough to let them kind of decide how to feel after like a timeout. How we implemented it was basically, it used to be, okay, you have a timeout, then it's why did you get a timeout? You know, you hit your sister, whatever it is. You need to go apologize and hug your sister. Give me a hug. I still love you, but I need you to make better choices, and then go along our way. And what she taught us was that, you know, maybe you have to do that at the beginning to kind of set the culture of what you're trying to get across. But then at some point you can just let them go and let them decide for themselves. And they come up with great answers. And so, you know, I say, okay, why were you in timeout? Well, I wasn't nice to my sister. Okay. How do you think that made her feel? She's probably sad and maybe she's upset or hurt. Okay. What do you think you need to do to fix that? Well, maybe I should go say I'm sorry. And like, now it's coming from him in a more real way. And that works way better with him than me just telling him to go do something. It never seemed to really, like, it just seemed forced with him. But when it's his idea, because he is kind of strong-willed like that, Timeouts are still working for now. I guess he gets a lot some days. He just didn't put his listening ears on. That was his other thing that we had to teach him. But that's something that we've learned with him. I have no clue. I mean, my daughter's 1, so we don't know yet. No timeouts for her yet. Not at an age where that would be effective at all. But you've got to be ready to pivot with her, because I can already tell that she's much more emotional and reactive to things, like sensitive almost.
When I think,
so JP, like just since JP, you were talking, what's one thing that you walked into parenthood thinking that you would do that you've stopped or adapted?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us was bedtimes with babies, because it was really one of those things that we really wanted to soothe our babies. We wanted to get them to a place where they felt comfortable, where they were calm, and kind of just had this idea that you could just kind of rock them to sleep. And we got a bouncy ball in the nursery, and you just sit there and you rock them to sleep, and then you gently put them down and hope that you don't wake them up, and then inevitably they wake up, and then you have to bounce for more. And Lisa and I were bouncing for I don't know, hours. I mean, it would be like 2.5 hours of trying to put the baby to bed, and eventually we're just like, this is not working. Like, this is not feasible. We have to, like, it seemed cruel to us. I hadn't done a ton of research on some of the other methods for sleep training, but we were like, this isn't working. We got to change. Let's just try this cry it out thing, whatever. And I think there was a variation of the cry it out where it's not quite as harsh, but nonetheless, it was like one night later, we had freedom again. It was like, wow, I wish we had just let ourselves do that, because, I mean, it was mean feeling. It was upsetting to hear him scream that upset. But at the same time, it was one night of learning to adjust to kind of some amount of self-reliance or calming himself down, and then goes to sleep. Yeah, self-soothing. And so maybe that's not every kid, like we said, but man, our second child, Evie, it was, all right, 4 months. That's the earliest they say we can try it. Let's go.
Let's do it.
And sure enough, it worked. It was amazing.
One with one of our kids, my wife had to go away at a conference or in a retreat so that I could do it while she was gone, because she just couldn't. There's something in a mother's heart that cannot let their child cry.
Yeah.
That does not want to hear their child cry. There's something about a man's heart that is okay with that. if they're learning a lesson,
welcome to life, kid.
And I don't want to even say that I was okay with it, but it was just like, I know that there is a light at the end of this tunnel, or at least we'll try, and when this fails, we'll try something else. But I think this is what's best, so we just got to do it.
Well, and I think that's like part of the role of the father. Like, to be honest, like, there is a certain amount of pain that we have to allow or cause in our child's life, so that they learn something that is worth them learning. And that's just, I think that's part of the role of the dad. That's part of helping our kids grow up. And if we think about God the Father, he does the same thing for us.
Yeah.
As far as allowing, different, difficulties in our life, so we learn patience, or learn humility, different things like that. He allows those things to happen so we learn the bigger lesson. He doesn't like seeing us hurt either.
And I think that's the most important thing. As fathers, we learn.
Yes.
Our kids don't just learn, we also learn. And so I think about the scripture verse, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. And he doesn't say, I know the plans I have for humanity. He actually, in scripture, we can read it as, he has plans for me, which are distinct and unique from the plans he has for JP, which are distinct. And so we really need to recognize that, like, our fatherhood should recognize an individual path. So if we're like, I'm just going to do this for all my kids, like you said, Matt, that might not work for all the kids. And so we love them fiercely. We love them uniquely. And that also means that we have to adjust and adapt accordingly. And so if for you guys, like I have friends that are like, we tried the homeschooling thing and it worked out great. And I've got these families that I'm friends with that have homeschooled all the way through. We got to a certain point to where we started recognizing some of the poverties in our own skill set, our own bandwidth, and our children's like fascination or their pursuits. Like, we can't give that to them anymore. So we had to look for other ways. And we did supplement it through clubs and different things like that. But we ultimately found a schooling situation that works for our kids. And to a degree, there was some shame or some guilt in being homeschool dropouts. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not Catholic enough unless you have infinity kids and you drive a big old car and, you fail or whatever it is and you homeschool. Like, it's all those different things. And so giving ourselves a little bit of leeway or forgiveness along the way, I think is part of the learning process as fatherhood, as fathers and as parents. But I also think it gives our wives permission to be okay with some of the changes or adjustments that might be difficult on them as well. And the Catholic Dad Show is also partially about how we can be a better teammate, not just a better father.
Yep.
Yeah, and I love that idea that you started with there, because especially for me, God knows every hair on your head. I'm covered, you know. He knows me individually, and I think that, but it true is so important that you get to know your children as best you can, and part of being a dad is just spending that time with them to learn their reactions to things, to learn their likes. You know, we've learned this morning. Chris got to witness our dance parties that my daughter Evie likes to have, because you turn on any song, and she's become very opinionated with songs, but she just loves dancing. If she's in a bad mood, you put on a good song, she will just sit there and bob her head and go crazy and do all these weird dance moves that I don't know where she got them from. And that's like a real joy for her that we've gotten to learn and experience and know that, you know, with William, it was different things that would cause him to kind of get out of his funk, or, you know, wake up on a wrong side of the bed. You had to do different things. Maybe his was turning on his favorite TV show. With Evie, she loves dancing. And so now you just learn the peculiars of your children, their quirks, their traits, their gifts, and find ways to, you know, let that grow.
And that adjusts the family. Because now family is different, because morning is more about music than shows and different things like that. Like, it's just a fascinating way how these unique pieces, because as a parent, sometimes as a dad, I'm like, I want to be the puppet master. Like, I control everything in the family. It's like, nope, mornings are going to be more about music than they're going to be about this, or this. And that's just because it makes the whole day go better when Evie's happy in the morning, you know? And so it's a beautiful way how children bring out new elements that you never would have thought. If you had these plans and you just stuck to the plans you had the day they were born, like, your family wouldn't be as good as if you just allowed their personality to come into the family and shape things as well.
And I'll call out Matt real quick, because I got to stay at his house one time when I was in College Station. And one of the beautiful things I loved about his family is they like started their morning in prayer together, where I think you guys even read from the Bible. You prayed over all of your children before they went off to their schooling. And I was like, man, I'm going to do that. And like, not this phase of life.
No,
that would not work for us. We got to do prayers at nighttime. And that's we get them in somewhere. And we're learning that way. And I'm starting to get to introduce prayers during Mass after we come back from communion with William, where he's getting distracted by things. I can pull him in and we can try to pray there. And maybe someday we'll have a phase of life where that does work for us. But I also just know my children and know that would not start the day well.
Oh yeah, and like for us, they had to be older, you know, to do that, and we had to have a regular daily schedule. Because I'll be honest, like summertime, we don't pray together as a family. Like it just doesn't happen regularly like that. But when we have that regimented Monday through Friday, they're going to school. Everybody needs to be up at 6:30, out the house by 7:30. 7:15 is prayer time. You know, and that's just normal. Like that's our routine during the school year. We have not found anything that works over the summer, you know,
and that's okay.
Yeah, but any other ideas that you came into parenthood with. So one of mine that is probably more impacted by the number of kids we have, but the idea that I was going to be their t-ball coach or their baseball coach, and you know, like all of that stuff, be that involved, and like Levi was a lucky one, you know, and maybe Asher too, because I was Levi's t-ball coach, and I was his little league coach for a while, but once we started having more and more kids, it was like, nope, you know, I can't do that, and I can't do that for all of you, and honestly, some of it was like, well, if I can't do it for all of you, I'm not doing it for any of you. But there was a little bit of dad guilt that came in there. Like I wanted to do that. I can't do that. Other dads are doing it, but other dads only have 2 kids, you know? And so I had to, like, as far as adapting that, I had to find other ways to be involved in the lives of my kids that weren't as, I don't know, time intensive, just because of the number of kids. And what I've found is that that's okay. You know, like it's like my kids are still well adjusted. They still love me. I still have a good relationship with them, and they're good kids. And it didn't matter that I was at like 100% level of volunteerism for all of their stuff.
Yeah. This is a trigger warning for me, because I coach my boys' soccer team, But the reason I do that is because I get to pick the nights that they practice on and can set their practices back to back. So it's like if I got to drive them up there anyways, I'd rather stay there and coach than have to find another night where we have to drive them up and back.
Yeah,
So
a little parenting hack there. That's
but
good.
like I'm rolling with 6 kids and I can't find an assistant coach. I'm like, is there not another parent on this team that loves these kids enough to stand on the grass with them for an hour? Like, what is happening? And so it's crazy because to whom much has been given, much has been expected. And the way that we've done that or navigated that is sacramental years, like right, First Holy Communion and things like that. That's when we lean in and say one parent is definitely going to volunteer. And they asked us, hey, can you volunteer over here as well? It's like, nope, someone's got to watch the baby. Like it just doesn't work out. So I think it's interesting finding those special moments. One thing that we held on to for a little while was that we were going to go to every single kid's event. Every kid's sporting event. Like we're going to try and make it to every kid's sporting event to a degree that my wife was like, okay, we're pulling kids out of practice here so that we can go watch this person play. And then we started trying to do that to make this a reality. And it's like, wait, this does not work.
Yeah.
Like our preschool like pageant happens while they're in school and we can't pull them out of school to go watch a priest. Like it just isn't going to work. And so at this point it's trying to make a representative. Like I represent Team Bartlett and I'm here to cheer you on or whatever it is. And that was something that we had to let go of. But the other option is in order to make that a reality, we would have to take away so many opportunities from our kids so that we could actually all go together so that everyone got to do like one thing and your month was this month to do the thing. And that's not fair to the kid either. So what does it look like to balance those realities and some of those ideas? And you just sort of, you pivot and you feel guilty and then you kind of resurrect and be like, actually, I think this is better. And then you continue on.
Yeah, we've done the same thing, like having a representative. I'm going to this one, you're going to that one. I haven't been to a cross-country meet, so this weekend is me. But yeah, trying to get to at least one of that particular sport, once, during that season. But no matter what, having one of the parents there is if at all possible.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that an example that I could use that I think I've mostly still hung on to, but have kind of waned a little bit. One of the reasons that we chose this room to be in is because I really had this idea, not everything, like you said, how am I going to do things different than my parents? I certainly have great parents. I love my dad and my mom. So, and we were talking even last night, I lead trivia now on Thursday nights, and like my dad for his birthday came to support me on his birthday to come play trivia with me. So
now, when you said you loved your parents, you mentioned that you loved your dad first before you mentioned your mom. I know they're listeners, so I just want you to clarify.
Love them both. But no, like, so I think I had a lot of goodness. And one of the great things that I do like from that is when I was growing up, I think, I am some sort of rocket scientist these days, aerospace engineer. And my room growing up was space. Like I had an entire wall that was really dark blue, glow in the dark stars all over it, a big moon, and like just sleeping next to this, example of wonder and awe in my room, having a special place that they kind of made for me. Now that didn't come around until I was a little bit older. I think I started with like Mickey Mouse or something. Fine, whatever. But like having that kind of impression is something that really stuck with me and formed me as a person to have that wonder and awe, like I said, especially in the religious context, the beauty of nature, all that kind of things. So for my son's room, I did the same thing, except I did a little bit better maybe, because I put the stars on the ceiling, not on the wall. And they're actually dots instead of like the star shape, because that's not what stars look like. But, like I got my friend Jacob Popchak, amazing children's book artist and graphic designer, psychotherapist. He made these like cool little porthole drawings of animals in space to kind of fill the room with like little mementos of partially things from our community and the people that we know and love, to support them. But we've got his namesakes on the wall, so he always has pictures of who he was named after. I've got some like blueprints of early space things on the wall that are probably way too hard for him to understand right now, but someday, like, maybe these things are sinking in by osmosis or something. With Evie, we chose like a more nature in the forest kind of a theme for her room, because that's also a beautiful place to find wonder and awe. But we just did kind of like ombre walls. But at the same time, 2 kids, we don't have all the wonderful paintings on the wall yet that we got. Like, we found this beautiful, like, her name is Evelyn Marie. We found this beautiful painting from these nuns that made a portrait of Mary and Eve together, and it was just like a beautiful inspiration with her names, with everything about it. You know, put it in her room, but it's still not up, and she's 16, 17 months. So it's one of those things that I still want to hold on to. I'm trying to hold on to, but I'm like, at some point we're gonna run out of rooms for everyone to have their own special room. So
yeah, it's funny because that's almost an example of like everyone's photo album. Like their first kid has thousands of photos. Their second kid has like hundreds of photos. Their third kid might have 2 or 3. You know, like, and like it's every birthday from there on out. You know,
My
not
wife
really, but like
did these amazing letters for their names, and like the first kid, Philomena, like that was a lot of letters, right?
Yeah.
And then she did it for the next kid, and then for Faustina, it was like when she turned 4, she finally got her letters, and Joseph and Benedict have a J and a B, and that's it.
William has a W for anyone looking. That's all
awesome.
we can do, but yeah.
All right, well, we're coming to the end. Anything else that you guys wanted to add before we close?
I mean, I think I would just say that through all of this, you know, it is hard to distinguish. I know we didn't really dig into like the difference between what an unhealthy thing that you're holding on to is versus something that's maybe idealistic that you can hold on to. But I would just say that it's so important, and something I've learned as a young dad, and something that I try to offer to any of my friends that I know that are having kids after me, is like, reach out, find community, find other dads that you can talk to about this kind of stuff to kind of help you balance and get that reality check, and learn that, you know, by kid 3, it's okay if you don't, you know, wipe the pacifier. You know, you hear stories, you know, about kids falling off much higher heights than they're fine. And you know, those kinds of little things kind of help really ground you, I think, to have that kind of community where you can be vulnerable and you can be honest and you can ask for advice. You can kind of see where those healthy or unhealthy, you know, things you're holding on to lie. So I would just, you know, recommend either through the amazing you know, Ablaze Families opportunities and resources that they have, find a community some way, somehow, have that dad that's willing to take your text at 3 a.m. when you're like, my son just ate a glass bead, like, what do I do? Because that happened to us. So like,
wow,
you know,
nice.
Like, what do you do? And you just need someone to reach out to kind of be like, oh yeah, my kid's done that 5 times, like, you're fine. You know, all they'll do is they'll x-ray it to see if it's there, and then they'll let it pass. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I would say just simply that the Handbook for Fatherhood is a living document.
Yeah.
And so be willing to adjust and adapt along the way.
Hey, where's this handbook? What are you talking about?
That's right. Co-author it with God the Father and
you're talking about me personally. Okay, there's not an actual handbook.
Yeah, the Handbook
Coming
for
soon
Fatherhood
to
is
every dad that was still watching this just Googled for that.
Yeah.
And it's a Google document, so there's 30,000 people changing it every moment, you know, but it's a living document. Give yourself a little bit of leeway, invite the Holy Spirit in, and adjust to meet the needs of your kids instead of looking across the street or across the screen of what other people are doing and feel like garbage because you're not doing it their way. They don't have your kids. So live according to what you've been gifted.
It's okay to try and fail fast sometimes. You learn from it, adjust.
Two things for me, unrelated necessarily to the show. JP, you're an aerospace engineer, so people aren't going to contact you there.
Right.
But I know you're fairly active on all the social medias. How would they find you there if they wanted to?
I'm not really findable. It's fine.
Oh,
we can just stay friends. I am actually.
You're like all over the place.
I'm pretty involved with a group called Catholic Creatives. So if you identify yourself as both a Catholic and a creative, you can go search for Catholic Creatives on Facebook. We run that group as a resource for people that want to connect on that kind of thing. But yeah, otherwise I try to stay off it now. I took after you. I'm trying to get away.
Quit? You quit? Okay.
Not hard quit. I'm what is that? The silent quitting or whatever?
Oh, okay.
Secret quitting.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
All right. The other thing is if you are still watching this episode and you haven't liked it, what is wrong with you? I mean, seriously, you've made it to the end and you haven't liked the video. Apparently you like it, so do it now. And if this is beyond the first episode you've watched, or even if you just like this one, subscribe. We need that. It helps get this out there to other dads that need to see it, need to hear it. And we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for being with us today, for following us, and continue to pray for us and our families, and we will for yours. Chris, did you have a different closing?
Your unique pathway of Catholic fatherhood is what transforms the world, and so we will see you next time at the Catholic Dad Show. JP, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Matt, signing off.
God bless.